There's a rumor going around. If you like this video and subscribe, you will become the greatest magic user in Fury. Hi guys, this is the next part of What If Brawley Was Reincarnated in the World of Naruto. I hope you enjoy. You're nothing but a little pup, Kiba. Naruto bellowed while wiping his tears away from his laughter. I'll show you a little puppy, last place. Come on, Akamaru, Kiba shouted while flicking a soldier pill into his mouth and also his own. Akamaru's fur started to turn red. His behavior changed into one that would fit more of a wild beast than a tiny dog that his appearance shows. He started to slob and drool while his fangs grew sharper. Akamaru jumped on top of Kiba's back and Kiba formed a hand sign while shouting, "Man-beast clone." A cloud of smoke formed around the man and dog duo. Naruto waited patiently for his opponent to finish. As the smoke cleared up, it revealed two Kibas. One taking the place of Akamaru's spot on top of Kiba's back and the other one crouching. The two clones separated and ran towards Naruto on opposite sides. They both leapt towards Naruto with their claws, hands stretched out. Naruto back-flipped out of the way as they landed and cracked the ground slightly with their attack. The two clones recovered and quickly went back on the offensive. Naruto, instead of retaliating, decided to humiliate Kiba by acting like a clown instead of fighting him seriously. He started to make funny faces at the two clones of Kiba. Every time they missed an attack, he would laugh at them and gloat and taunt. Eventually this enraged the two Kibas so badly they decided to step it up a notch. They started to claw the air while spinning around until they formed two spinning gray drills. Naruto's face suddenly turned serious. He realized he wouldn't be able to play around with Kiba as he had been so far. Man-Beast Ultimate Taijutsu, Fang over Fang. The Kibas yelled as they drilled towards Naruto. Naruto pushed off the ground and hopped over the two drills while yelling, "Try again, doggy boy." The two Kibas quickly recovered and attempted the technique again. Naruto this time was already prepared. While he was in the air, he created three shadow clones. Those shadow clones started to copy Kiba's movements. They started to claw into the air before transforming into three orange drills. But instead of aiming right for Kiba and his clone, they all spun off into different directions and crashed into the arena's walls. The audience gasped at the blonde's ingenuity. How is he able to copy Kiba's move? He doesn't have eyes like yours. Sakura asked Sasuke. Seems like he isn't as much as a loser as I thought he was. Sasuke replied. Kiba-kun is not going to be happy about this, Hinata said quietly. From his current state, you can certainly see he's not happy about this development. Shino said. Hey Aomatsuna, he did the same thing you did. Kind of, Esumi pointed out. It seems as so. Brawley said. Hey, you copied my move. One of the Kibas shouted. I didn't see your name on it. Naruto said shamelessly. It's the same technique that I use, you copycat. Kiba shouted even louder. No way, no way, it's just a coincidence, Naruto said while rubbing his hair and looking into the sky. The two Kibas growled and threw purple smoke bombs that robbed most of the upper-level watchers' view, while also taking away Naruto's view as well. Naruto was suddenly kicked in the back and knocked forward. He almost fell but caught himself before nearly being kicked in the chin by another incoming pair of feet. Naruto put his fingers together in the classic shadow clone hand seal, before creating four shadow clones and locking hands with them. They started to spin rapidly in a tornado-like manner, clearing away the smoke and revealing the two Kibas once again. But after they cleared the arena of smoke, they didn't stop spinning. They shot up into the air together and formed Kiba's Fang over Fang technique once again, merging into a larger orange drill that dove straight towards Kiba. One of the Kibas hopped on the other's back before also forming the same technique and shot forward to clash head-on with Naruto's copy of his technique. The audience looked in suspense at the incoming duel between similar techniques. Hayate got ready to call the match soon. Naruto definitely has dog boy beat. I mean 5 beats too, Esumi said. He should have chosen a different choice of action for sure, Jabi said. What a fool, Brawley stated. The winds surrounding the 7 fighters started to get pulled into the two drills as they tunneled towards each other. The orange drill coming to crash down and the gray drill drilling towards the heavens. Boom! A fierce gust of wind blew from the impact of the two techniques, blowing back many of the watchers' hair and clothings. Hayate was slightly blown back from the impact and slid while continuing to watch the outcome of the intense attacks. Crash! A blur was seen blasting from the clash into the arena's wall. A painful groan and yelp was heard before a thud was heard. Haha, yeah, I did it, Naruto shouted still midair, but with a banged-up appearance, 0 clones, and some cuts on his outfit. He landed before looking at Hayate with an expression that said, "Come on. Tell everyone who's the winner of this round. Say his name." Suddenly the movement of rubble was heard and a torn, bruised, and bloody duo of man and dog emerged. Kiba's legs were shaking as he held a similar-looking Akamaru in his arm. He was staring at Naruto as if he was not willing to lose and was ready to give everything to win this match. Naruto would have taunted Kiba, but he saw the seriousness in his eyes and decided otherwise. Kiba soon fainted afterwards. The winner of this match is Naruto Uzumaki, Hayate said before the medical nin came and took Kiba and his dog to the infirmary. Naruto cheered once again before returning to his team's location. Not an unexpected outcome, Brawley said. The dumb idiot should have kicked him and his dog back down when they got up. Esumi said. I believe if he dodged when Naruto was above him, he could have stayed a bit longer to show off his prowess. Jabi spoke. Ino Yamanaka vs Kankuro, the two fighters met in the middle. One with a determined look on her face. The other with a smirk as if there was no way he could lose. Hayate signaled to start and Ino immediately threw some kunai at Kankuro. Kankuro dodged them and Ino immediately followed up with a straight punch to the face. Kankuro dodged once more but soon found a kick heading straight for his midsection. He couldn't dodge this so he smiled. Thud. OWWWWWWW. What the heck is your body made of freaking wood? Ino shouted while holding her leg. Suddenly Kankuro leapt and punched right towards the slightly injured Ino. Ino quickly put down her hurt leg and nearly dodged. Kankuro's fist slightly touched her shoulder and the force behind it was definitely too much to be normal. Ino looked at the wrapped figure on the ground that Kankuro had brought into the arena and then at Kankuro himself. She noticed something similar about the two of them. The hair is the same. But what does that mean? And why is his body so hard? Ino thought to herself. Ino was constantly dodging Kankuro's attacks before kicking off his body and throwing a kunai with an explosive tag attached to it at the wrapped figure. This caused Kankuro to quickly return back to the wrapped figure he left on the ground and take the attack for it. Boom. The audience are shocked and confused about why he would take an explosive kunai for some dumb ninja tool he has until pieces of wood started to fall to the ground. From the explosion, came a six-armed, three-eyed puppet. The puppet flew towards the surprised Ino. From its wrist a sharp blade shot out. Ino didn't lose her nerve. Ever since the battle with the blue man, she and her team decided to take their training a bit more seriously in case something like that were to ever happen again. If their sensei wasn't there they could have easily been targeted and kidnapped. Ino dodged the blade and threw another explosive kunai at the puppet. This time however it decided to dodge the flying explosion and shoot out a flurry of senbon from its mouth. Ino quickly substituted herself with the explosion kunai and appeared over the wrapped figure once more with a kunai in her hand. The wrapped figure started to move before quickly hopping out of the wraps in a nose attack. It was Kankuro inside that was wrapped up and not some ninja tool after all. I knew you were hiding something important in there. Ino shouted before quickly attacking the real Kankuro. Kankuro was sweating a little bit due to the close call he had there and the fact that taijutsu is not his forte. He substituted himself with his puppet to gain some distance away from the blonde-haired girl. Ino was slashed at by the puppet who had some wrist knives out. Her clothes were getting slashed and sliced, but no skin contact has been officially made. She saw some type of purple liquid on the wrist knives and promptly decided to avoid getting hit by them. She was all out of explosive kunai, so she decided on the next best thing. Her body. Ino ducked under the puppet and swiftly kneed it in the chin, knocking it up and away for a couple of seconds. She then stood straight up before making a strange circular hand sign. She aimed at the puppet that recovered and was diving straight for her. Mind transfer jutsu. After Ino shouted this, her body went limp along with Kankuro's puppet who fell straight down from the air. Kankuro and most of the audience was confused on what happened. He flexed his fingers to try and move his puppet. I didn't know the mind transfer jutsu worked on puppets. Shikamaru thought. I guess that last-minute training I gave you three worked pretty well. I'm proud of Ino, Asuma stated to his students. There's that annoying unseeable jutsu. Well, it doesn't work against me anymore though, Esumi stated. I'm sure the Yamanaka clan works in the spiritual side of chakra more than a mix or the physical side of it. Jabi informed. Brawley flexed his neck as he started to get used to the cursed seal mark on his neck and feeling its strange chakra. So this is the clan that takes over the mind and body of the enemy. I could use that, Aomatsuna said. After Kankuro flexed his fingers to try and control his puppet, it slowly raised as if it was a ghost from a cemetery. His puppet turned around and suddenly took off towards him. Kankuro was shocked and still confused. His puppet was careening towards him and he felt unsafe and uneasy about it. He tried to dodge but the puppet grabbed his leg and slammed him on the ground. Idiot. Gaara commented about his brother. He really should get something besides his puppet to attack with, Tamari said with a facepalm. After slamming him into the ground, the puppet then wrapped around him and started to crush Kankuro. Kankuro's bones creaked and he shouted in pain. Surrender or I'll break all your bones, the puppet said in a nose voice but more mechanized. You took over my puppet's body with that weird jutsu of yours. Kankuro squeezed out. Yep, now give up or I'll squeeze a lot harder, makeup boy, Ino threatened. Kankuro gave his surrender and Ino returned back to her body. Hayate declared Ino the winner and Kankuro walked back to his siblings in defeat, while Ino returned to her team in celebration. I should kill you for losing so pathetically, Gaara said with a glare in his eyes. This response caused Kankuro to shiver and sweat. Gaara simply turned away and didn't bother with him anymore. Nice job Ino, you were awesome, Choji said. You know it, I did great, Ino said while fist pumping into the air. The electronic scorer started to flash through names as everyone looked in suspense. Some looking forward to their turn and others hoping they get paired up with someone weak looking. Tenten vs Yamanaka homie, he has the same last name as that last girl. They must have the same abilities, Tenten said before hopping down into the arena. You look pretty weak, try not to waste my time too much homie says while unsheathing a tanto, small katana. He. Bringing out a weapon against the weapon mistress of Konoha. I'll show you how to use that, Tenten said. Who do you think will win fatty? I think the blondie's gonna have her beat, Esumi chatted. I'm not so sure. I think Tenten noticed the similarities between Ino and this guy since they have the same last name and hair color. So she wouldn't likely stand still to be attacked by the mind transfer jutsu or be caught off guard. Just two worthless bugs, nothing special, Brawley added. Hayate signaled the two fighters to begin and Tenten took out a scroll and summoned a tanto with a puff of smoke. It was the exact same kind as Homie's tanto. Homie smirked as he dashed towards the female fighter. They both clashed blades with nice loud clang and sparks began to fly. Tenten was slightly stronger than Homie, catching the boy off guard. He broke off the clash and low-kicked Tenten off her feet. He followed up with a downward slash from above her. Tenten quickly rolled out of the way and threw 4 shurikens at Homie. Homie deflected them all and dashed towards her again. Tenten took out her scroll again and summoned in hundreds if not thousands of different types of sharp weapons that flew towards Homie at high speeds. Homie deflected most of them while dodging the rest. He started to go through hand signs after escaping the assault and shouted, "Overwhelming darkness jutsu." Suddenly complete blackness was starting to close in on Tenten from all sides. Everyone and everything was suddenly gone. The darkness started to approach her and etch onto her body. She could feel her body, but she was rapidly losing sight of her own body. She was about to scream but then she lost all control over her body. What a fool. Do none of these so-called senseis teach their students how to break genjutsus? Our village is really weak, Jabi said sadly. If I had my own village, I would definitely do better than ours is doing currently. Well, in the shinobi department anyway. Focus on getting strong enough to spar with me at my full strength. Then you can talk about creating a village, Brawley said. Ha, you're right Aomatsuna. Ha, what was I thinking? Jabi replied, slightly frightened if Aomatsuna would really make him train with him at his full power. Tenten raised her hand and suddenly spoke. I Tenten hereby for. No, Tenten, you train too hard to lose like this, Lee shouted to his teammate. Homie, who was currently possessing Tenten, felt slight resistance after hearing that voice, but he quickly overpowered it and continued onward, ignoring the foolish boy in the green jumpsuit. Forfeit this match, Tenten completed. Tenten has surrendered this match and the victory goes to Homie Yamanaka. Suddenly Tenten dropped to her knees and Homie returned to his body. Homie sheathed his tanto and walked back towards his team with a gloating smirk on his face. Tenten had tears ready to drop from her eyes before Guy appeared behind her and placed his hand on her shoulder. He body flickered them both back to their stands before the electronic board starting flashing again. Guy sensei, was all my training for nothing? I got beat so easily, and had nothing to show for it. Tenten said, barely containing her sobs. Tenten, you have not trained for nothing. You have shown all of us your beautiful flames of youth. Don't let this one failure stir you away from your chosen path of becoming a powerful kunoichi. Stick this failure on your back and overshadow it with your shining rays of hard work and perseverance. Haha, you're kind of cool sometimes, Guy-sensei, Tenten said with a sob as she got up and wiped her tears away. Guy shined his signature smile and threw a thumbs up towards Tenten, which caused her to laugh again. Kintsuchi vs Aomatsuna Hakuseki, finally. Even though she looks weak, it's better to actually do something, Brawley said as he body flickered into the arena. Kin hopped down from her team's area with an arrogant smile on her face. You should give up while you can, shorty. This isn't a daycare center. Kin insulted. Brawley looked at Hayate, waiting for him to start the battle. You'll regret ignoring me, kid. Kin yelled as Hayate started the match. She threw 2 Senbons with bells attached to them at Brawley. Brawley lightly stepped to the side as the Senbons stuck to the arena's wall. She threw more Senbons at Brawley, but this time some had bells attached and some didn't. This would normally force an ordinary shinobi to watch out for all the Senbons, but for Brawley it was nothing more than child's play. A bell sound rung, but Brawley didn't notice any Senbons being thrown his way. He focused his vision and found a very thin ninja wire attached to the bells that were thrown at him. As the first bell started to ring, more bells started to ring out. Brawley felt a slight trickle of foreign chakra enter his ears. He was about to quickly flush it out, but he decided to see exactly what his opponent was planning. Kin started to multiple and Brawley could not tell which Kin is the real one. She started to laugh and this caused an echo of many laughs. Interesting ability. I would have to thank you, Worm, for this, Brawley said before raising his foot and crashing it into the arena's ground. A burst of air and concrete shrapnel blasted towards Kin. Kin dodged the incoming attack and smirked. Is that all you got? How path? Kin fell to the ground holding her ears. She screamed loudly before she started bleeding from her ears and went unconscious. Almost everyone in the arena was confused on how Aomatsuna won, when she clearly dodged his attack. Brawley smiled devilishly before staring at Hayate, who has yet to call his victory. He quickly came back to before announcing Aomatsuna as the winner. Brawley returned next to Jabi and Misumi. Although this chakra energy isn't as destructive and powerful as Ki, it is much more diverse in its uses. Brawley thought to himself. That's just like how that sound ninja's move worked. Did he somehow figure out their techniques from experiencing it once? Lee shouted, alerting the rest of the ninjas. Impossible, the last of the sound ninja shouted. Brawley heard Jabi muttering about how chakra has so many mediums it's able to travel through and something else, so he quickly tuned him out when he got like that. Brawley looked up to the board and saw who was fighting next. Yoroi Ikado vs Gaara. Gaara's figure had sand swirling around him until he appeared in the arena from the balcony. He somehow teleported with his sand into the arena. Yoroi hopped down from the balcony into the arena with his face mask hanging off his mouth. Are you both ready? Hayate said. Get ready to lose, kid, Yoroi said to Gaara. Hayate signaled the match to begin and Yoroi made a hand sign before his hand took on a blue flame like aura around it. He quickly dashed towards Gaara with a smirk. Gaara's teammate Tamari looked on in ridicule at this poor sound ninja's choice. Getting into Gaara's range is suicidal. This match will be over in seconds, Tamari said to no one in particular. Why is that random sand kunoichi? Misumi, who scooted over to her due to boredom with an innocent smile on her face. Because Gaara's sand is one of the ultimate defense and ultimate offense. Just watch how this idiot will soon lose his life, Tamari said before realizing someone was actually conversating with her. What are you doing over here, short stack? Go play with your little leaf buddies, Tamari said. Misumi would have liked to slice this sand broad into a million pieces for making fun of her height, but she had a mission to do. Aomatsuna wanted to find out why the red-haired boy with the bottle on his back was so different from the rest of the other genin. And it was her job to figure that out through some expert investigation skills. Kind of like a real kunoichi. What's so special about his sand? It looks like normal old sand to me, Misumi said with an unconvinced tone. TCH, just watch ya little brat, Tamari said as she and Misumi looked at the fight. Yoroi was about to grab Gaara's head, but a wall of sand interrupted his plan and quickly fell to the ground. Yoroi was confused, but he continued to try and grab the short boy's head. More sand came in front of the sand genin that continually fell from contact with the strange sand. What's this strange sand? It has chakra in it. Yoroi yelled before coating his other hand also in a blue flame-like pattern and swiped multiple times at Gaara. More and more sand came to replace the fallen ones, until Yoroi eventually landed a grab on the sand genin's head. I finally have you. You better surrender quick or suffer in pain. Yoroi warned. The fallen sand from before started to move slightly to anyone with keen eyes. Team 11 and maybe some of the Jonin noticed but didn't think much of it. Misumi looked up at Tamari, who had a face that knew exactly what was going to happen next. Why does his sand have chakra in it? That's kind of weird, don't ya think? Does he just build sand castles all day? Is that why he carries it around with him? Misumi asked innocently. He was born with it. Ever since he was young, he was able to control sand. Tamari says with a brief look of sadness on her face. Wow, was his mom some sort of sand monster of something? That's like being born by a cow and being able to control milk. Misumi said. This made Tamari upset and glare at the blue-haired Kunoichi, who couldn't control her thoughts. Misumi stared back with higher intensity, but Tamari didn't give up on defending her brother. During this little glaring contest, the actual contenders were finishing up their battle. The sand that fell due to Yoroi's blue strange technique started to congregate behind him. It rose high in the air, shocking the current watchers. Yoroi, who heard the gasps and noises of the audience, turned around with his hand still clutching Gaara's head. His face took on an expression of disbelief. The insanely high sand came crashing down with the momentum and intensity of a tsunami. Yoroi tried to quickly escape, but Gaara's sand captured his arm that was still attached to Gaara's head. Gaara had a malicious look on his face while Yoroi's took on one of doom. The sand crashed on both contestants, filling the arena with nothing but a sand-colored sea. Silence filled the building. Hayate looked in confusion. He was deciding whether to call it a draw, or a suicide. He freaking killed himself. Ha ha ha, milk boy killed by his own sand. Mama cow didn't save you from your own stupid sand. Ha 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 ha, Misumi said while laughing loudly and breaking the silence. Brawley had a small smirk of his own at the thought of one of his own techniques killing himself. Jabi had a much more visible smile at Esumi's outburst and had some laughter to accompany him. Naruto started to laugh along with Team 11, who somehow caused most of the other genin to laugh as well despite how uneasy they felt towards the red-haired sand genin. Tamari looked as if she was about to swing her large metal fan at Esumi's head. Misumi was too busy laughing her guts out to notice the pissed sand Kunoichi and the fact that some sand near the center of the sand sea started to swirl around in a whirlpool shape. Gaara came slowly rising from the sand and looked at Misumi with a death glare. Hayate, visibly relieved at this outcome, announced Gaara the winner and soon let the board pick the next fighters. Misumi giggled some more before quickly returning back to Team 11's side as Gaara returned next to his sisters. Jabi had a much more excited grin on his face as he noticed a blue small mini version of himself land in his hand. Chakra absorption, here we come. Misumi, get ready to never run out of chakra again. Muahahahahahaha, Jabi shouted manically. Misumi jabbed him in the face with her elbow to shut him up, due to all the eyes focusing on the fat crazy boy. Brawley face-palmed at the fact that Jabi still hasn't learned to take considerations for his surroundings even when he's excited. He decided to train him extra for that after this. Amai Jabi vs Morimoto China, Jabi. It's the girl that had a crush on you in the academy. Don't lose just because she's a little bit cute, okay? Misumi said as she slapped Jabi's huge round back into the arena. Jabi fell on his back and just looked up at his supposedly female opponent who had a crush on him. He didn't believe Esumi's words for a second. He rarely interacted with any females. As he saw her current expression, he soon started to have second thoughts. The orange-haired girl with swirly glasses had a face that was completely red. She kept adjusting her glasses as sweat started to slightly fall from her face. If you're ready or whatever, go. Hayate said while Jabi was still lying on his back and Morimoto was a sweating nervous wreck. Jabi slowly got up as a red blush tinted the side of his cheeks. Although he wasn't interested in her, she was pretty cute to him. He looked at Aomatsuna, before noticing him nod. He sighed in relief due to the fact he didn't have to completely decimate this girl. You can go first if you like, Jabi said politely. This only caused the girl to turn into even more of a mess while trying to take out her kunai. Her swirl-tinted glasses looked perfectly with her currently confusing display. She ran at Jabi with the kunai before taking multiple swipes at him in a hasty manner. Jabi felt a little bit bad that this girl is letting her emotions control her during battle, but then again Aomatsuna also lets that happen to him sometimes. But now that I think about it, Aomatsuna doesn't really look so sloppy when he loses it. Jabi smacked her hand that was carelessly swing around the dangerous ninja knife. She dropped her kunai and looked at Jabi with tears in her eyes. Oh geez, what a dangerous opponent. Those tears nearly got me good. Jabi thought before closing his eyes and palming towards Morimoto's stomach. He waited for the nice impact to hit the girl, but felt nothing. His face took on a look of confusion before he slowly opened his eyes and noticed she was also closing her eyes. He thrusted a palm right towards her that was loud enough to cause the entire audience to hear the sound before watching her daintily dodge the incoming attack and form a high kick that swiftly rose as elegant as a swan taking off from the lake towards Jabi's neck. Jabi's eyes widened in surprise before he thought of something fun to do. He hopped away and blew out a bubble and whispered something into it. It soon flew away at a slow peaceful speed at the currently vision-less Kunoichi, who was hearing intently on her surroundings. She got into the basic academy stance due to not hearing any sounds, before hearing a bubble pop next to her ear and saying, "Hey cutie." Morimoto yelped girlishly before turning as red as a ruby gem. Jabi silently appeared behind her and chopped her on the neck. Her eyes lost focus and her body lost control. She fainted and fell towards the ground. Jabi was deciding whether or not to catch her, before noticing her teammate, the muscular-looking girl, appear and catch the falling cutie like a prince out of a fairy tale. Jabi has won this round of the preliminaries, Hayate said. Jabi's body flickered back near his team while Miyahara hopped beautifully with the sleeping Morimoto in her arms in princess carry position, causing some of the female genin to daydream about their future prince doing that for them. Jabi returned to a sly-looking Esumi. "Ho ho ho, lady killer Jabi huh," Esumi said while jabbing Jabi in the side. "Hey cutie, wanna experiment later with our bodies?" Esumi mimicked in a perfect Jabi voice, embarrassing him. "I would never say such a thing." Jabi denies with a red blush. "As long as it doesn't get in the way of training, I don't care what you do otherwise," Brawley said, prompting the redness on his face to increase even more. Misumi Tsurugi vs Hinata Hyuga. Hinata and Misumi both hopped down and faced each other. The glasses-wearing shinobi with the face mask stood across from the cream-colored hooded jacket girl with slight lavender featureless eyes. The man had an arrogant look on his face as he looked at his weak-looking opponent. "You should give up while you can. You don't look like you're fit to be a ninja," Tsurugi insulted. "I can be a ninja too, if I try my hardest," Hinata said as she made a hand sign and forced the veins around her eyes to become visible and tighten. Hayate signaled the fighters to begin. Tsurugi dashed towards the meek-looking girl and struck with his fist. Hinata attacked with her palm towards his fist. Bam! The two slid back from the impact and Tsurugi looked at his arm in alarm. He tried pulsing chakra through it, but it seems like it was slightly strange for some reason. He ignored this ominous feeling before rushing straight back at the girl he thought was just a weakling. So he charged her once again in the same manner as before. Hinata looked up at a certain yellow blonde who was also watching her. Her eyes filled with a certain something and she ducked the incoming attack and did a sweeping low kick. Tsurugi smirked before hopping over the attack and grabbing the Hyuga Heires's throat. Hinata choked out a gasp before feeling her opponent's hand stretch. He started to coil his body around her body entirely before he ended up behind her back with her completed entangled in his limbs. Hinata squirmed and struggled before almost deciding to give up entirely. Her eyes looked for the familiar color of orange, only to meet the eyes of a familiar-looking cousin of hers looking in disappointment. Seeing that felt even more terrible than the shinobi strangling her and crushing her bones. Maybe it would be best if she gave up here. She's always been such a disappointment to her family. Hinata, don't give up. Show that strechty freak what you're made of. Naruto yelled in support for the weak-willed Kunoichi. This sudden outburst caused Hinata's body to surge with energy. She built up chakra around all of her tenketsu points before releasing them all and blasting Tsurugi away. Tsurugi flew away with his limbs elongated and smashed into the arena wall. Hinata, who looked completely ready for a round 2, took up the basic gentle fist stance in preparation for her opponent. Hayate looked over and noticed that Tsurugi was knocked out from the impact of Hinata's attack and the hit into the wall. Hinata Hyuga is the winner of this match, Hayate said. "Good job out there, Hinata. Shino congratulated. I'm so proud of you, Hinata. Kurenai said. Nice job, Hinata-chan, Naruto said with a thumbs up. Thank you all. Hinata replied. Tamari vs Choji. Tamari and Choji stood face to face. Tamari had a victorious-looking smirk on her face. I hope you fight as well as you eat, Tamari said before Hayate started the match. Just watch and see, Choji said in response before making a hand sign and shouting, expansion jutsu. Choji's body puffed up into the shape of a water balloon and gained some height to where he easily was taller than most of the genin in the arena. He left his limbs the same size before he stuck them inside his puffed-up shirt. He then rose in the air by blasting chakra from his feet and starting to roll like a bowling ball in the air. Choji landed on the ground and started to roll at Tamari at a pretty mediocre speed. Tamari opened her fan and revealed 2 purple circles that were etched on it. She then swung her opened fan towards the rolling Akamichi. A fast gust of wind blasted into Choji, slowing his assault greatly before eventually blasting him back into the wall. Choji got lodged into the wall from the impact of his own rolling in the wind. Choji struggled to get himself free. Tamari just stood and watched with a look of absolute disbelief. This is my opponent, he can barely fight, Tamari sighed before pulling her fan back, launching another wind blast at Choji, who had finally gotten himself free. His eyes widened in terror before he quickly hid back inside himself with his clan's jutsu and was launched into the wall even further. Seconds go by before any sort of noise is heard from the large boy. But all of a sudden, rumbling was heard from the hole where Choji was forced into. A dizzy, off-balanced chubby boy in his regular form came walking out. He was walking all over the place with his eyes in spirals. I won't lose just yet, Choji managed to say before falling over and snoring. Is this match over or what? Tamari said in an upset manner. The winner of this match is Tamari from the village hidden in the sand, Hayate announced before Tamari returned back to her position next to her brother. Well, that was disappointing, Jabi said. That match was totally useless. He hasn't learned anything as a genin since his time from the academy. Esumi said. She didn't even beat the fat idiot's head in and make fun of him for being so pathetic. Worthless, Aomatsuna also replied. At least his fires of youth shone as brightly as they could for him. Lee said. It was simply his fate. Neji added. Sasuke vs Zaku. Finally, I get to fight, Sasuke said before clutching his neck where the curse mark seal was at. He was hoping it didn't interfere with his fight, but it seemed to activate whenever he used chakra. So it seemed he had to deal with this guy whose arms he had broken during the second exam. Should be easy enough, right? I will get my revenge for my arms, Zaku yelled as he hopped down from the balcony. Sasuke leapt over the railings and stood face to face with the sound ninja whose arms he broke. Don't blame me for what happens if you go through with this match, Sasuke warned before having Kakashi whisper something into his ear. His face took on a look of shock, before quickly turning into a contemplative one. Begin, Hayate said when Kakashi left the match area. Zaku pulled out his good arm from his cast and aimed it at Sasuke. It turns out I didn't get them both, he said with a smirk. This pissed Zaku off. He immediately shouted, sound wave, and a fast-moving flurry of wind traveled towards Sasuke. Sasuke dodged before running towards Zaku. Zaku attacked the incoming Sasuke with his good arm. Sasuke blocked with his own arm and punched with his other towards Zaku's face. Zaku moved his head to dodge Sasuke's fist but missed the fact that Sasuke has now ducked and did a sweeping kick. Zaku fell from the sweeping kick and landed on his back. He groaned in pain before noticing Sasuke's bottom heel heading straight towards his face. He quickly rolled over before hearing multiple sounds of impact coming for him. He decided to roll over one last time before blasting at Sasuke with his sound wave attack. Unfortunately for Sasuke, his curse mark decided to act up at this time and force him to take the attack head-on. Sasuke was launched off his feet towards the opposite wall of Zaku. Zaku slowly stood up while taking heavy breaths. He had a satisfied smirk on his face before slowly walking over towards Sasuke. Sasuke was struggling to fight against the curse mark that was spreading over his body somewhat. It was receding and advancing. Sasuke knew he couldn't let this thing take over him or Kakashi would take him out of the match and prevent him from furthering in the Chunin exams. He summoned all the willpower he could from his very being to clash against this thing. The Jonin were watching Sasuke's skirmish against the dreaded seal. Kakashi was watching him like a hawk, ready to dive in and interrupt the match for his students' safety and future. They all saw how the seal slowly receded back and turned back into the original 3 Black Tomo form. Kakashi sighed in relief, while the rest of the Jonin showed expressions of amazement. Sasuke stood up with difficulty. He saw his opponent aiming towards him with one of his palms aimed directly at Sasuke. He then saw the Sound Genin smirk before blasting another Sound Wave attack at him. Sasuke swiftly dropped to the ground and rolled out of the way, causing his body to ache even more. Zaku appeared over the Uchiha with his foot raised above his face in a devious smirk. He dropped his foot to stomp the genius's face in the ground. Sasuke grabbed his foot to stop him from stomping him. Zaku increased the pressure. Sasuke's arms started to shake. "Hey Sasuke, what are you doing out there looking like a chump? Hurry up and show this guy the power of someone from Team 7. Naruto shouted. This seemed to give the last Uchiha boy some form of energy as his face took on a look of determination and his arms stopped shaking. He let go one of his arms holding up Zaku's foot, but punching him in the leg. Zaku quickly shook him off, but once he looked towards Sasuke's position he couldn't find him. He was about to start looking around until he noticed he appeared right under him. But for this Sound Genin he didn't react fast enough. Sasuke kicked Zaku in the chin from right below him. The kick from the tired Uchiha launched a slightly crippled Genin high in the air. Zaku looked around for Sasuke to prepare for any attack, but didn't notice where he was until it was too late. "Hey, isn't that my move?" Lee shouted. "Wow, how impressive, being able to do a move from only seeing it once. Sasuke is so cool," Sakura shouted. "He's just a lame old thief. Nothing special about stealing," Naruto dismissed. Sasuke appeared under Zaku, shadow of the dancing leaf. Sasuke kicked Zaku in the ribs on the side where his arm was broken, causing him to groan. He then elbowed him in the chest, causing their mid-air time to decrease faster. As they were about to land, Sasuke landed a brutal heel kick on Zaku's stomach before sliding away painfully from the impact of his attack. Zaku spat out blood and stopped moving. Sasuke held his head up slightly to show that he wasn't out of this fight quite yet. Hayate went over to Zaku's body to check him. "He's done for this match. I am declaring Sasuke Uchiha as the winner. And since we had one fighter who has not fought yet, he will be automatically moving into the 3rd exam," Hayate stated. "Hey, how is that fair?" a familiar blonde shouted. "It isn't. We had too many people pass the 2nd exam, and since you guys went too easy on each other or something, this is your punishment," Hayate responded. "This isn't so troublesome," Shikamaru said with a smile in response to getting a free pass to the final test. "You're so lucky, Shikamaru. We had to put our lives on the line and all you had to do was sit here." "Totally unfair," Ino whined. "I think it's because we didn't take so many people's scrolls," Esumi said. "I wanted to fight strong fighters. I didn't expect this to be the outcome of my actions," Aomatsuna admitted. "You might still get the chance to Aomatsuna. We don't know how the final exam is gonna turn out yet," Jabi said. And as soon as he stated that, Hayate started to talk. "And this concludes the preliminaries for the 3rd exam. To all of you who have won, congratulations. The Lord Hokage will now say a few words." Hayate coughed slightly. "As I told you before, your matches will be seen by everybody. Each of you will fight to represent the strength of your countries. I want you to do that by showing every inch of your power. This is also the reason why the finals will be held 1 month from now," Hiruzen said. "Wait, so it's not happening right now?" "Right here," Rock Lee said, a little upset at not being able to show his flames of youth more. "No, you could say, it's a break for preparations. In addition to informing all the various country lords and shinobi leaders, this is the time needed to arrange for the gathering of the event. And this is also preparation time for you examination students," Hiruzen says as he takes a small break to smoke his small pipe. "What are we preparing for?" Ino asked. "We're preparing to fight our future opponents, ya blonde bimbo. It's so simple to understand, but it's taking forever to get through." Esumi yelled, irritated that this is taking so long. "But we don't know who our opponents are," Shino said calmly. "We're getting to that, just shut up and let him finish," Esumi shouted. Hiruzen coughed at the temper of this small gifted kunoichi before starting again. "The 1-month period should be used by you all to advance and improve yourselves. And to rest your wearily bodies. But before you all leave, please grab a piece of paper from the box Anko is handing out." Each genin grabbed a piece of paper from Anko. Now tell us the number on that piece of paper in order starting from left to right. Hiruzen said. 12 Miyahara Otsune 11 Tamari 3 Yada Esumi 13 Aomatsuna Hakuseki 4 Rock Lee 2 Ino Yamanaka 9 Naruto 7 Hinata Hyuga 1 Shikamaru Nara 15 Shino Aburame 5 Amai Jabi 8 Yamanaka Homi 10 Sasuke Uchiha 14 Gaara 6 Neji. Alright, I will have Ibiki now reveal to you all to the final exam. Hiruzen says as he hands a notebook to Ibiki. Ibiki writes a few things before showing the contestants who they were fighting. Shikamaru. How troublesome, I have to fight Ino. Ino. I won't lose against Shikamaru. I know all his skills. Esumi. I hope he won't be as boring as the time I faced him some days ago. He has a month to impress me. Lee. Yush. Although she is quite scary, she will make a great opponent. Jabi. How marvelous. I get to experience the famed Hyuga techniques firsthand. I can't wait to finally gather enough data on how to use their techniques in my battle. Neji. HMPH. He doesn't look anything special. With my talent this should be easy. Hinata. I won't back down. Homie. Against the weak-looking girl should be a piece of cake. Naruto. Yada. I will finally get to fight Sasuke in a real battle, without any interruptions. I'm going to give it my all. Tamari. Just a muscle brain. Miyahara. A cool beauty type opponent I prefer cute ones more though. Brawley. This should be fun. He smells similar to Naruto with just extra sand and bloodlust attached. It should be an entertaining fight. Gaara. Mother is screaming for his blood. He must be quite strong to gather attention from her. Shino. I get to look forward to fighting one of two monsters. I better train hard this following month or I'll be crushed. Okay, you're all free to start strategizing or resting. With this I'll dismiss you all, but are there any final questions before you all head off? Hiruzen asked. I have one. Shikamaru said. Since it's a tournament, that would mean it would have only one winner, right? So this means only one person can become a Chunin then? Incorrect. There will be me, the Cage, and lords of various countries watching the final test. There will be judges evaluating your abilities during the tournament, and those who the judges choose to be Chunin worthy will be selected as Chunin. Regardless if you win or lose. Hiruzen explained. So anyone could be a Chunin if we show those qualities you're looking for? Esumi asked. Technically, yes, everyone could become a Chunin if they show the qualities the judges are looking for. Hiruzen answers. But at the same time no one could become Chunin. After answering everyone's questions, the following participants started to leave. Team 11 was amongst the last to leave and was the only genin team that left with all their teammates still in the exams. Many jonin and watchers of the exam noticed this. Hey guys, wait up, Naruto yelled at Team 11. He dashed towards them as they stopped. I wanted to ask you guys for some training tips for this upcoming month. I feel like Kakashi won't really teach me and Sakura-chan anything useful for some strange reason. I haven't asked him to train me yet, but just in case he says no for some reason I'll have a backup. And since we've been friends since we were kids we should help each other out, right? Naruto said in his usual loud boisterous voice. We are also enemies in this upcoming tournament, Naruto. Esumi reminded him. Yeah, but don't you guys love fighting strong people? How about making me stronger and being able to enjoy our match even more than if you decided not to train me? Naruto wisely said. That is quite perceptive of you, Naruto. Jabi complimented. Yeah, I'm pretty perceptive. So what do you guys say? Naruto asked. Creating strong enemies to fight a better battle with. My blood is excited at thought of creating stronger and stronger battles for me to relish in. Brawley thought to himself. Before I aid you though, Naruto. You will owe me 2 favors in the near future. Brawley said. Yeah, sure, we're friends. What do you want? Naruto asked while already getting himself giddy over the training he will be able to accomplish with his friend's help. For now, nothing, but later on you will find out. Jabi, give him our notes from Ko with your added notes attached. If you don't live up to my expectations, Naruto, expect your career as a shinobi to be over. Brawley threatened with bloodlust that washed over Naruto. You betcha, Aomatsuna-kun, Naruto yelled before grabbing the notebook Jabi handed to him and running off to find his sensei. Team 11 continued to walk towards their apartment grounds after watching Naruto dash off. Are you guys planning on training all this month? I saw some interesting techniques in the prelims I want to try messing with and taking them for myself. Esumi stated. I'm going to be testing various new ideas and implementing them along with my current repertoire of abilities. Jabi answered. I also saw some nice tricks I want to try. So I'm going to be training along with increasing my seal to the final level. Jabi, increase yours by a level as well. You've been slacking off lately. If by the end of this month, you're not at a satisfactory level of improvement, expect hell. Brawley warned. Jabi nodded in a fast manner before increasing his gravity seal to level 9. Brawley increased his to the final level, level 10, and grunted as the impact of natural forces exponentially increased against his body. He grinned at the challenge, at the fight against the powers of the world itself. The more his body faces against these strange harsh conditions, the faster they will adapt to them. Jabi looked at the battle freak Aomatsuna, who was overjoyed apparently by the restrictions brought on by the gravity seals. Although he did enjoy improving himself in his techniques, he didn't enjoy it as much as Aomatsuna seems to. Jabi shared his knowledge of how to absorb chakra and stretch their bodies through his mini-water clones who were actively performing diagnostics on Yoroi Akado and Misumi Tsurugi while they were performing their techniques. The info he got from the Hyuga girl was too minuscule to really count as anything, except for the fact that good chakra control is needed to perform the technique. He warned them not to try to stretch their bodies, use the soft physique modification jutsu, until he can heal them so they don't suffer long-term hidden damages from overuse of the technique. He will try to do this by tonight, so he told Aomatsuna and Esumi to not train tonight. He has to stop by to buy a few things from the store. Brawley shared with Jabi and Esumi on how to use sound and chakra together, like what he did against the sound kunoichi. He told them how he was able to use it in his way due to his massive chakra reserves, so they should find some other way of implementing it in their styles. They both agreed, and this is where Jabi split off from Esumi and Aomatsuna. Esumi and Aomatsuna returned to their apartment grounds, only to see various white-cloaked Jabis with mini Jabis on their shoulders. The pets Jabi brought back also had mini water clones on them. Esumi shook her head and sighed at her nerdy childhood friend. This is not an acceptable sight to come and see from a long day. But suddenly two Jabis dressed in waiter clothes had many steel trays with a pleasant and inviting smell coming from them appeared in front of Aomatsuna and Esumi. They had mini clones on top of their shoulders that removed the top over the plates and revealed many different delicious-looking foods. Esumi's jaw dropped and nearly caused a waterfall to spill out. If you would follow us please. One of the Jabis said before leading the two genin into Jabi's kitchen table, that was filled with even more food. Brawley's eyes widened, before he suddenly laughed in a joyous manner. What a pleasant surprise. I'm glad I met the two of you on that playground that day. Brawley said before digging in. This caused Esumi's heart and the clones of Jabi to jump, from the sudden emotional confession from Aomatsuna. This is their first time hearing him say something like this about them. One of the clones inside the room dispelled to let the original know what happened. She looked at Aomatsuna with tears hiding at the corner of her eyes. She shook them away before smiling happily also and digging in. The clones left the two alone to eat while leaving the TV on and remote nearby. With Jabi, Jabi is currently at the store buying 3 different types of items. Many different alcoholic beverages under a transformation jutsu, many different syrup brands, and a djembe, a small singular drum. After paying for the items, he walked away leaving a very confused store clerk who looked at him wondering what the hell he was playing tonight. He reached his apartment grounds to find Aomatsuna and Esumi has finished eating the food his water clones have made. He greeted them before asking them both to use the technique on all of their joints. Brawley and Esumi both stretched their joints and created quite the freaky sight for anyone who was not in the know. Esumi's and Brawley's necks grew to the ceiling of the apartment while their arms and legs stretched all over the place while twisting and becoming longer. Jabi did the hand sign for his water mystical jutsu and started to heal all of their joints. He told them to revert back to normal and healed them a second time. To be absolutely sure though, he asked them to re-stretch once again and revert back while healing them again. Okay, you two should be good to use that move whenever you want. My water mystical palm jutsu slightly increases the body's natural healing process while also strengthening the area being healed. Jabi explained. I will get my water clones to do the same for me later, but for you two, we are done. You can go home and sleep. Jabi said with a smile. Good night Fatty and Suna. Esumi said with a yawn before heading off to her apartment door. Night. Brawley and Jabi responded. Brawley walked towards his apartment door and left Jabi to his own devices tonight. After Brawley washed himself up, he walked into his bedroom and laid down in preparation for sleep. He looked to the ceiling of his room and started to think. Think about the reason why he was brought to this world. Think about how differently this world is from his last one. Is there any similarities? Just why? But overall Brawley didn't think too hard on the topic. He enjoyed his current life, even at the cost of most of his power. He has something he didn't even know he wanted or could have in this life. Family. Someone to care about. For him and to them. Maybe he shouldn't have spent so much time chasing after Kakarot and spent it actually looking for something that meant something. Brawley soon fell to sleep thinking about his current loved ones and wondered what else he would experience in this new strange world. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. The next part will be out soon.